Recording.
Figure 8 sprang gives you several options. I'm using a frame here, and some people will shove the first cross up to the top. I like to have the first cross here in the middle. I find this a much more comfortable working height. So I'm ready to work my first row. The first row is called the initial row. I identify the first thread with the bead here, and then I take the second thread, the one from behind, and bring it in front, and the bead thread goes to the back. I work my way all the way across the row, up, down, up, down, up, down, crossing these threads in pairs all the way across the row. Now I check to see that each thread is crisscrossing over the other one, and they're in pairs all the way across the row. When I get to the far end, the very last thread should also be a bead thread. I want to keep those edge threads at the edge. Ah yes, here the very last stitch engages a bead thread, and so did the first stitch. Alright, that is my initial row. Threads cross over one. To keep this stick in place so nothing bad happens, I use these twist ties that I get at the produce section in the grocery store to hold the bags shut, and I use it to keep the stick in place so it doesn't fall out. Now that I've completed the work on this first row, I'm going to shove the work down to the bottom. I insert another stick here, and I push the work all the way down to the bottom. The cloth will grow. I pack on the rows one after the other down here at the bottom. Now to keep the work packed, I'm going to use chopsticks. I have these pair of chopsticks. They're still joined. You get these when you eat at Chinese restaurants, or you can get them from Asian food markets, grocery stores. I insert one of the pair in that space where I had the stick, and they keep the work nicely packed at the bottom. I'm now ready to do the second row. The second row is the plait row. You remember from the previous video how the plait row goes. I begin by bringing two threads to the front. Now one of those two has to be the thread with the bead. I bring two threads to the front and I push one to the back. Then I work my way across the row, bringing one thread to the front, one to the back, one to the front, one to the back, one to the front, one to the back. As I work, I try to keep my eye up here instead of down here. When you keep your eye up there, you can make sure that each thread comes underneath two threads. So this thread came from up over here, dragging two threads along. I'm taking the next thread, and you can see where it comes from under two. Each thread should come from under two. Now, if by mistake I would grab the wrong thread, do you see how that grabs three threads there? Ah, that tells me, I call this bunching. Bunching tells you that some thread or other is out of order. This is the correct thread, and it just comes across under two. All right, I work my way one up, one down, one up, one down, all the way across, and at the very end of the row, here I've got two threads left over. There's one up, two down. One of the two has got a bead in it. Yes, that's right. Now I always check myself. When the row ends with that 3-thread edge stitch, I go back and look and see, oh yes, it started with a 3-thread edge stitch. I'm good. This is a proper plait row. All right, at the end of the row, then I always secure the position of my shed sticks with some more of these twist ties, just to keep things from getting out of hand. There we are. We've got the shed sticks secure in their position, and now I need to shove this shed down to the bottom. The work builds up at the bottom of the frame, down here, and I reposition my stop sticks down at the bottom to hold the work in place. All right, we've done the initial row, the plait row. Now it's time for the overplait row. The overplait row, you remember, is one up, one down, all the way across. The very first stitch needs to engage the bead thread. One up, one down, one up, one down, all the way across. Up, down, up, down, up, down. I keep my eye, you remember, keep your eye up higher here to know that the threads are coming in the proper order. I work my way all the way across. Actually, it becomes quite rhythmic, quite meditative even, once you get the hang of it. A very relaxing thing to do. All right, at the end of the row, one up, one down. Okay, I have one up, one down, not two. And one of these threads is the bead. That's good. I always go back and look. Yes, it started with one up, one down. That's good. It's my proper overplate row. You need to give yourself visual cues like this. My other visual cue is that I work these rows in pairs. A plate row followed by the overplate row have the same color. I work this with pairs of knitting needles, and the colors, the two of them, help me keep track of myself here. I've worked the overplate row. I need to shove it down to the bottom. I'll take another stick, another color from another pair, and it shoves all the way down. You see my work is starting to collect here at the bottom. Eventually I will also shove the work up to the top of the frame, and this manner of making cloth, working from the two ends, making 2 rows of cloth for every 1 row worked, meeting at a center join line, that is sprang.